So the theme this year of this summit is living longer, healthier and productively for global prosperity. And we're incredibly fortunate to have leaders from around the world here today who will all be speaking from Japan, Israel, the US, Switzerland as well, to help us address some central questions. How can we add 5 extra healthy years to our lives through a new social contract? This is indeed the central question we're asking and have been asking at the All-Party Parliamentary Group, which because of the general election we're in a period of purdah, but we've been doing a lot of work which you'll hear we make references to throughout the day. The second question, what policies need to be introduced in response to the real-world impact of the 100-year life, and indeed beyond 100 years, as we are finding from a lot of the research today, and what that impact will be on society, the economy, and our own way of life. How should the next UK government meet the challenges and opportunities of longer, healthier lives, taking learnings from countries around the world? And so we're keen to hear from those experiences today. Sir John Bell, Life Sciences Champion and Professor of Medicine at Oxford University, he recently declared that longevity is the single most important issue for society in the next 30 years. As we all gear ourselves up for the general election on the 12th of December, longevity needs to be a priority for any future government, as living longer will affect every one of us in our communities, our economy, and our way of life. Some are arguing that longevity needs to take its place as important as an issue as Brexit and climate change. These are the sorts of questions that will come out today. Why does longevity matter? Increasing life expectancy will have profound effects on society. Employment, pensions, healthcare, these will all be affected. We now live 10 years longer than our parents, a great opportunity for us. Many are benefiting, enjoying longer lives, and most older people actually, contrary to some of the myths, are actually happier than younger people in their 30s. But we also have a shocking problem with health inequalities. People in the most deprived areas are living living longer, less than ones who are the richest citizens, about a decade earlier than the rest of us. And women in the poorest areas are actually living 20 years less than those in the richest communities. So there is a serious issue that needs to be addressed here. And this actually is not just in the UK. Worryingly, we are seeing figures, for example, in the US, which spends double on healthcare than in the UK, where life expectancy has started to decrease. And we're finding that health inequalities are tied with wealth inequalities. Ill health causes many people to drop out of the labour market in their 50s, and that causes serious problems later down the line. And they risk being poor, so it creates a vicious cycle. So what needs to happen? These are the questions we're asking ourselves today. We need to commit to a pan-society goal to increase healthy life expectancy by 5 years. This is something that the All-Party Parliamentary Group has been examining over the previous 6 months. And reduce health inequalities, reduce the waste of lives, reduce the waste of human capital that we're seeing, reducing the premature and avoidable ill health that we can do. First, there are 3 main priorities. First, we need a much bigger focus on prevention, health prevention. We need more across the life to prevent diseases happening in the first place, to detect, intervene, and reverse them when they do. So there's huge advances in rejuvenation, for example, which we'll be exploring a little bit later on. This will take concerted action and leadership at national and local level, and also by government and by the NHS, third sector, and business. And as part of this, and this will be a theme that we come on to, the NHS really does need to evolve into a true national service for health, keeping us well, rather than spending the vast majority of its resources at the end of our lives, the last few weeks at the end of our lives. We must also make it easier for people to adopt healthier behaviours, and this depends very much on the environment. And this environment is physical, social, and also digital. So these are all the things that we'll be examining. Lord Philpin actually will go into detail in our session this morning about this as well, but it's critically social determinants of health which are at the root of all health inequalities. The second big factor is that we must change attitudes towards aging. We need to see living longer as an opportunity and not as a burden, which is often how it's talked about today. We talk about the challenge, the silver tsunami, etc. A healthier nation is good for business. It's good for the economy. And reducing ill health at work enables more people to work for longer. And in fact, for every year that someone is able to work longer, it adds 1% to the GDP. So this is something pretty fundamental. We must encourage and reward investors in business that will deliver impact and contribute to this goal of an extra 5 healthy years. How do we incentivize business in this new social contract that we'll be examining later on in the session today? We must encourage business to encourage their employees to adopt healthy behaviours. And I know there's a lot of investment and a lot of focus on that in many sectors in the business community now. But we also need to leverage the marketing might and the distribution channels of business to get the messages out. We need to keep people working for longer on their own terms. We must challenge ageism at work. And indeed, we need to raise our economic activity with the older generations. Third, we must harness the longevity dividend, and post-Brexit Britain could lead the world in creating a longevity dividend, creating a marketplace of products and services that can keep us healthy and well and living longer. We have enormous strengths as a nation in AI, data, fintech. We have an incredibly strong life sciences sector. We have creative industries. We've got a huge amount of assets that we can mobilize in a longevity marketplace and open up the market for post-Brexit Britain. And finally, my last point before I hand over to Eric is that we have to remember that the plus 50 market is actually pretty staggeringly huge. I mean, if you add up all the plus 50s in the world, we are the third largest market after the US and China. So that's something to ponder, and they have, in the developed world, the vast majority of the nation's wealth. So these are things that we can mobilize. So I'm going to hand over to Eric, who will tell you a bit more how we can do that.